Hello, everybody. C. Ray Brower here with Your Perfect Home, and we have Michelle Johnson on today, and we're going to talk about high interest and high house payments. We're going to do that in just a moment, but I want you to first go out and like, follow, and ring the bell, subscribe. I know I'm out on a lot of different platforms right now, but wherever you are watching, please like, comment, and share because sharing is caring. And we'll be back next. And we are back. How's it going today, Michelle?
Oh, it's going really well. How about you? How's it going for you?
You know, really great. Enjoying this cool weather that we've been having for the last 3 weeks, right? I mean,
so nice. Such a relief from the summertime.
had a few pretty hot weeks going on during the summer. Talk about all that global warming, and now we're all doomed to die, and now we're 5 or 8, 10, 12 degrees below normal.
Who knows? The weather does what it does, and it always fluctuates. But it's nice to just not be in that extreme heat anymore, for sure.
Yeah.
Nice for the electricity bill too.
Yeah, well, you know, we kind of took care of that here in our house. We went solar right before the change to NEM 3, net metering 3. We finally pulled the trigger. I was ready to pull the trigger a long time ago, but my bride, she says, "Oh, those panels are ugly. Oh, I can't have them on the house." I said, "Well, they're mostly on the back side of the house anyway. Nobody's
Yeah.
When you're sitting in the backyard and you're looking at the roof."
That's right. And think of all the beautiful things you can buy with that extra money you save. So.
Yeah. There was something on TV that said in the last 4 years here in California that the rates have increased 54%.
Oh my gosh. I believe it. It's outrageous. Yeah. Definitely.
It is like way crazy. That's not our topic for today. Our topic today is high interest and high house payments. So what's your perspective on what's been going on with these rates and, of course, house payments, and how can our buyers and sellers really navigate that issue that's happening right now?
Yeah, well, I actually have a chart I'm going to share with you guys really quickly here.
Oh, great.
Yeah, just to kind of illustrate what I am saying. So we'll start with that, and then we'll kind of go over. So can you see it here?
Just a minute. Let me get back over here.
Oh, sorry, I caught you off guard here.
Well, a little bit, but that's all right. You know, you know me. I just roll with the punches a little bit.
You do. You're great with technology.
So we're
better than most young kids.
And we're going to bring this up, and then we'll change it to that, so it'll be clearer for everybody. There we go.
All right. How does that look?
That looks good.
All right, good. So basically you can see, and this one's a little bit confusing at first, but it's taking a couple of different time points and just kind of looking at the differences here. So you can see in the little red square that there was a time in history where the mortgage rate decreased and the housing price decreased. And that was in the financial crisis of 2008, 2009.
Right.
So we all know that that's kind of a little bit different than it's not typical, and we don't really want to base our future predictions or any type of theories on that specific bubble pop. There were a lot of lending practices that were going on that are no longer going on that really caused a big problem. So the mortgage rates dropped, the housing prices dropped. So it was just kind of an anomaly.
Right.
So we actually see right above that, the mortgage rate is decreasing, the housing price is increasing. And so
Right.
that is in 2021. So we all remember that because that was just a couple of years ago. And so, as you remember, we were kind of like dropping those interest rates. We thought that the economy was kind of going to have a little trouble after the COVID shutdown. So they were dropping those interest rates. And with that, they started to really, really kick house growth into high gear because.
Oh, did it ever? That was during the time we were having like 27 bids and everything way over asking and everything appraising.
That's right. And you almost had to have more money than your down payment so that you could cover anything that it didn't appraise at, because people
Right.
weren't accepting offers without a appraisal gap, which means that
Right.
well, as you know, but let's explain for them that it means that if your house doesn't appraise for what you have offered, you're going to make up that money in cash. So basically you're paying more than the house is even worth to get into a house. And that's what was
Today,
happening.
right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and then it says, periods of rising mortgage rates have rarely ever seen a simultaneous decrease in house prices. So mortgage rate increase, housing prices increase again, mortgage rate increase and housing prices decrease. That sort of happened right after 2008 again. So it's kind of like that anomaly where housing prices had already decreased. There was a flood in inventory that was a big part of that. So sellers couldn't sell their house because there were so many. There weren't that many buyers on the market, and there were just so many houses on the market. So that was the only time that we've ever seen that happen. And it's just that little blip. Right now, what's happening is mortgage rates are increasing and housing prices are increasing, and historically, that's really what we see. So. Okay, there we go. All right, so
we'll
yeah.
Put this back up over here.
Okay, sorry about that. I threw you off there, but I did really want to show that kind of graph there because it does show kind of like just the focus points on the map. And so oftentimes I know you're out there, we're out there, and we find people saying, hey, you know what, I'm ready to buy. I want to stop renting, or maybe I want to get out of the house I'm currently in because it's not big enough or it's not the nice neighborhood. When I bought it, I knew I was wanting to upgrade, and now I'm ready to upgrade. Or I'm ready to get out of the rental market. And either way, I look at the interest rates and I think, oh gosh, this is a terrible time to buy. And these interest rates are definitely going to bring the cost of houses down. Well,
we'll just look at the chart.
Right. We looked at the chart. We know that that's not really true. So what typically happens is the housing prices continue to tick up, and especially the primary difference between what happened after 2008 and what is happening now is inventory. So maybe Ray, you could tell us a little bit about, you're out there on the field all the time. Tell us a little bit about the housing inventory right now.
Housing inventory is at an all-time low. I mean, we had, as the interest rates jumped, trying to take care of inflation, which inflation that happened not because of housing prices.
Right.
And yes,
that's true.
The fact that we had low inventory already, and we shut down pipelines, and we had all kinds of economic things going on unrelated to housing. We had printed a bunch of money, which is really the true definition of inflation. If anybody looks that up, inflation isn't just prices increasing. It's because the dollar is devalued because they're just printing too much money to pay bills that aren't there, that they don't have money for. But we had that inflation, and so now they're going to raise interest rates to try and slow down the economy, which it works. And yes, at that point, we had a big dip in inventory, and then immediately it started coming back up. And right now, we are again unseasonably having an increase in inventory. People are actually starting to see that the true interest rate that we're at right now is really at a 52-year average. We're right about average for house mortgage interest rates. So yes, it's way higher than 2.85. It is way higher than 2.85, but 2.85 was during those, what we've been calling the unicorn years of COVID, where they were trying to stimulate the economy, and they did. The dream for all here in California, that money was supposed to last 6 or 8 months and lasted for 2 weeks. That they allowed people that actually had money to buy houses to use that money also. So it went very, very fast. But that is an indication to me that people still want to buy. Sellers now that have got that 2.85 are concerned about going ahead and stepping up to the plate and getting another house with a higher interest rate. But as we discussed at our last meeting, you're actually using that great increase in your equity. So even though you're buying another house at a higher interest rate, it's very possible that you can end up with the same or a lower payment based upon using the extreme equity that you gained during those unicorn years, because we also had double-digit appreciation in homes. And so yeah, it's kind of strange when they throw those numbers at us. The media throws those numbers at us that house prices are going down. House prices haven't gone down. The median house price has gone down because they aren't selling as many homes,
Right.
and people can't afford. They wanted to buy a $500,000 house. Interest rates went up. Now they can afford a $400,000 house. They still need to move, want to move. They really would prefer that $500,000 house, but they're buying a $400,000 house. Those people that are out there buying are buying a house that's less expensive, which brings the median price down, not the average price or the true cost of a home.
Right.
That's
And
what
that
I
is
think.
that is such a good explanation, especially the part where you talk about like where you're getting this information from, this misinformation from out there in, on the news channels, or people who aren't involved in the actual industry. Well, they say, well, the average price of a house nationwide is lower now. Well, it's not the same house. Like you said, it's that I can't buy a $500,000 house. Now I have to buy a $400,000 house because of the interest rate. So they're thinking, oh, well, people are buying cheaper houses. Well, it's true, but the houses that they're buying aren't cheaper. They're just buying less of a house.
They're buying less of a house. Exactly.
That's right.
And you use the word average. And if they used average, we would have a whole different number. They use median, and median is dead in the middle.
That's right.
That's the difference. Average, you'd have 10 houses, and you take all 10 houses and add that number up, and then divide by 10. That's average. That's average house.
Right. And that would
Median,
include our $15 million houses.
Right.
Yeah.
The $15 million house in my area, I get the houses that are $1.2 million, $1.3 million, and they sell 3 of those in a month.
Right.
And they sell $300,000 homes and a couple of $400,000 and $500,000 homes. It brings the average way up. But median is the house that's dead in the middle of the 1.3 and the 250, and dead in the middle is $400,000, which is less than the average cost of the houses that actually sold.
Yeah, and that's such a good point, because the truth of the matter is, if we're having more low end, then that middle is going to be lower for sure. And another thing that you mentioned is just like the inventory shortage, and really a lot of that did come from building materials, believe it or not. Like we have actually not have a ton of the thing is, the population grows faster than the housing market really does, and so we can't build houses as fast as we need them. And that especially slowed down during the COVID shutdown because the supplies of lumber and, windows, just all of that stuff were either not able to be achieved or much more expensive. So people who are creating those homes that are then investments and they're trying to sell them right away, new construction, it just kind of stopped. And so, right. And so just because there's not that
all the way back to the bubble burst, we're actually 14 or 15 years right now at building less houses than than the average demand over the last 50 years. The average demand of houses being built, we're 14 years behind in building houses. Yes, the bubble burst, houses went crazy, price of houses went down, a lot of contractors went out of business, they quit building houses completely. Subdivisions that were planned sit empty forever.
Because we didn't need them at that time. Everybody was selling their house.
Right. Everybody was selling their house prior to the bubble burst. That was the crazy thing about the whole bubble thing. And I was not in the industry at that time, but I have a very person in my family that was, and came to me and said, they tell me that I should buy a house. What do you think? And I said, yeah. You should buy a house. Do one thing. Do not sell yourself the same mortgage that you're selling everybody else that comes into you. Well, what do you mean?
Yeah, during that time. Yeah.
Don't. Because during that time, the sales pitch was, you'll never have to make that payment.
Oh, yeah.
You'll never have to make that payment. I know. I've got a lot of friends. When it crashed, I had contractors, good contractor friends. I had a transmission repair shop come in and bring in their vehicles in. Oh man, can you go ahead and float it for me for a little bit? I'm good for it. Well, yeah, I know you're good for it. Why don't you just pay for it? Well, I had 27 guys working for me. I got 3 now.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm supposed to feel bad for that? You caused it. Well, what do you mean?
Yeah.
I can't help it. Well, yeah, you were building those subdivisions out there, and you were selling people 5 or 6 sections ahead, and not even telling them how much you were going to pay for the house.
Right.
House prices just went boom, 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 boom for no reason at all. There was more houses on the market than there were people buying.
Yeah, wow. It was such a wild situation.
10 or 12 months worth of inventory, and people are buying houses like there was a month's worth of inventory.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Well, because they made it so easy for them to do, didn't have to qualify, super low rates, even though 2 years after that, they were going to hike up and your payment was going to be unmanageable. Didn't matter. We didn't have to qualify anything. So, but the main difference here and what we really need to pay attention to is inventory, supply and demand. It's like any other business. If there's not a lot out of it, it's a collector's edition, there's only one in the world, it's going to be really, really expensive. If there's a ton of those, they make $1 million every day, it's going to be cheaper. So that's really what we're looking at. So as long as inventory doesn't exceed the people who need houses, we won't see a pricing drop. And it's unfortunate, especially because we know that there's a lot of people who need more affordable housing. But unfortunately, waiting for that to happen isn't actually going to work out for anybody. So, it just comes to the bottom line. And we say this all the time. If you can afford the payment, then this is the perfect time to buy a home. And I love what you always say. If the interest rates keep going up, and every day lately they've been ticking up about 0.1%, but maybe a little more, maybe a little less sometimes, but they've just been ticking up steadily. So if I buy right now and it keeps ticking up, then great, I got in at a lower price. If I buy right now and then suddenly there's a rate drop, then I can refinance. And if I buy right now and the interest rate stays the same, then I get to start building that equity like we talked about last time. So, I know we go over that all the time, but it's so important that we don't wait for any reason. Oh, I'm going to save up enough money to lower my payment. I mean, most people, they just don't have the ability to do that. They don't have the extra income. Oh, I'm going to wait until I get my pay increase. Well, how much are you actually going to get extra per month? Is it really going to make that much of a difference? Or is it better to just get in and start building that equity and then eventually using that equity for all the things that we talked about? So,
yeah, exactly.
you know, and I've seen it happen. I actually recently had someone decide to purchase, and she looked at a house in I want to say it was like the 300,000 range. We looked at it. We showed her monthly payment. It was about $100, $200 more than what she was really wanting to spend. Not more than she could, but more than she wanted to. And so she said, you know what? I'm going to wait. Well, 2 months later, after really thinking about it, she thought about the difference between renting and buying, and she's got a family, and her and her husband decided, you know what? We don't want to rent anymore. We want to start putting that money into our investments, into our future, into our children. And so she said, we're going to go ahead and buy. Well, by that time, the rate increase had increased her payment $300 from that payment that she thought was too high before. So now her payment is $500,000, $600,000, or I'm sorry, $500 or $600 more than what she was really wanting it to be. Again, not more than she can afford. So she went ahead and purchased the house before it's exactly. And luckily we were able to lock her rate in then, which it was, you know, 3 or 4 weeks ago. And since then the rate has gone up almost a full point. So had she have waited 1 more month, her payment would again be $100 higher. $200 higher. So it does not benefit you to wait. If you can afford the payment, get into the housing market.
Get in when you can. Bite the bullet for a short amount of time.
That's right.
Because that pay increase that you're going to get is coming, and your housing costs are locked in where they need.
That's right.
And you don't have to worry.
And that's a good point too, because the rents will go up too. You know, your rent's going to go up. It's always going to go up, and eventually you're going to be paying what you thought you couldn't pay for your mortgage for your rent anyway.
Right, exactly. kind of like the whole thing right now with PG&E and solar. You know, I mean, you know, it's crazy how things just keep increasing, and we have the ability to lock things in today for the future, where they're locked in today, when even though it seems like it's more today than what it would be if, and I think everybody is guilty of that thinking. I know that back when I was in construction, I just out of high school, I was working for Beck Construction, building homes, could get a great price on the house, and interest rates were up some. During the time I was building homes, the interest rates went way up. We've been building 5 to 7 homes a day, and we were building 5 to 7 a week because interest rates went up. So, you know, the job site suddenly didn't have as many people on it and what have you. But during that time, before the interest rates went up even, I looked at, I'm paying $500 a month for rent. Got a really nice house and it's $500 a month, whatever, you know. If I buy a house, I can buy a bigger house. It's brand new and it's nice, but it's going to cost me $725 a month. And me and my wife at the time made the choice not to purchase. Which, had we done that, you know, the house was, I don't even remember, $40,000, $25,000. It doesn't matter what that number was. Today, that house is a $500,000 home.
Right. Right. And if that was less than 30 years ago, then that means your mortgage payment would still be $725 a month.
Right,
So
exactly.
think about how much it would be to rent, a house like that today. And like that is not stopping, even though prices are higher, even though mortgages are higher. It may be 2,500 versus 2,750 now, or even
Right.
2,500 versus 3,000 now. But the same thing is happening for that same property 3 years, 4 years, 5 years down the road. People are going to be paying more for rent than what you're paying for your mortgage payment, and it doesn't change. It's not like in the old days where you get a mortgage payment and then suddenly your mortgage payment is $2,000 more. You're like, oh my god, that doesn't happen today. Once you have a mortgage payment, it's set. It could fluctuate a little bit based on like insurance and taxes,
Insurances and taxes, yeah.
but for the most part, that base payment, that's set, and it's not going to change. And so, yeah, the longer you stay in your home and you make that mortgage payment, the cheaper and cheaper it seems compared to everything else.
Yeah, exactly. That is the whole thing right there in a
Yeah.
nutshell. Even
Yeah.
though today it's more expensive, by the time you actually get down the road a little ways, you're talking about rent increasing, and I do know people that are renting that they haven't had a rent increase in 5 years, 7 years. I know landlords that don't increase their rent on their good tenants because they don't want them to go
Sure.
somewhere else, and
Sure.
and they maintain that same rent instead of increasing it annually. But when you look at the actual chart of rent for the last 50 years, rent has gone up steadily. There's been 2 times that rent has actually came down. You know when those 2 times were?
I'm guessing 2008 is one of them.
That is one of them, and the other one was back in the 80s when the interest rate to purchase a home went to, what was it, 18%, 17
I was going to say,
something,
yeah,
18%.
definitely upper
It
double
was
digits.
it was high double digits to buy a house,
Mm-hmm.
and now um, those are the 2 times in history that there was actually a decrease in rent, and it was about that big of a blip in the whole
Little
thing, and
blip.
then it
Yeah.
shot
Right back up.
way up after that, and it just
Keeps
a
going.
steady increase, and it's not going to
Right.
change because the people that are renting the houses, the landlords, are going to get a return on their investment,
That's right.
and that includes their mortgage, their insurance, their taxes, and they are
Right.
always going to get a return on that investment. And as house prices go up and the old landlords sell and the new landlords buy, the rent has to continue to increase for people to make money. And I was shocked. I didn't realize the number was as high as it was, but in California, it's like 80% of the people rent.
That is high.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
I was shocked. I didn't think it was anywhere close to that. But property manager in my BNI group, she pointed that out to us, and I went, wow,
Yeah.
that's really
Well, and I think that probably has a lot to do with the LA area. There's so many people in the LA area that it kind of trumps the entire rest of the state. So it's probably 80% of people in LA that rent, and then
yeah, and the Bay Area over here, I
oh,
mean,
right, the Bay
we have
Area.
the same thing there, I mean,
Yeah, they're so expensive that it's hard for people to get into the housing market in those areas. So we're lucky in the Central Valley that
yeah.
the prices are actually reasonable, and that there's opportunities to get into the housing market. And truth be told, you get in the housing market, you get that equity like we talked about, you get those raises, all that stuff. Maybe you could move closer to the Bay Area or LA if that's what you want. I don't know if any.
Right.
Lots of people don't.
A lot of people don't. A lot of the Bay Area right now, San Francisco especially. My daughter just moved out of San Francisco, and
A lot of people are.
13 years.
Yeah.
Was renting a 1-bedroom apartment for well over $3,000 a month, and they've moved down to LA. Her new husband, my new son-in-law, got a job down in North Hollywood, and so they've moved down there. They did get a 2-bedroom place, so if we do come down, we do have a place to sleep in.
Oh, that's
Um,
nice.
but they're still fast approaching $4,000 a month.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So we're so lucky where we are that, if I'm going to spend $4,000 a month, I'm going to get a house. It's going to have a yard.
Really nice house.
Yeah,
With a nice
exactly.
yard. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we really have good opportunities to purchase and really start making our money work for us. So
Exactly.
it's nice place to be. So
Perfect. Well, I hope we've brought everybody some great information today. Anybody that needs any help, especially the heroes, which are educators, anybody in the education, anybody in the first responders, anybody that's been in the military, um, you can get hold of Michelle. She's got some great deals for you. Everybody go out and be the sunshine in somebody's rainy day. One last time, remember, like, follow, share, ring the bell, because sharing is caring. Michelle, thank you so much for stopping by. I
thank
appreciate
you,
you
Ray.
every time. We always have such a great time on this, and we will do it again next month. Everybody
Yes.
remember C Ray to find your perfect home and go out and be the sunshine in somebody's rainy day. We'll talk to you all real soon.